friends, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm really excited to share some new Altenew items with you. I've created a few cards here. One of the new items is this die. It's called the Fine Bouquet die, and I want to give you a look at a few cards I've already made. So this is using that die. I just cut it from different pieces of cardstock and layered it on my paper. I cut out the outlines with that black cardstock, and then I filled in those flowers using some off-white cardstock. So you can get different looks and different color schemes depending on what you like. I also added a sentiment from another stamp set that I'll be using today, and I embossed that in Gilded gold embossing powder. For my other cards, I used this stamp set. This is Everlasting Happiness, and it is just gorgeous with these simple flowers and circle images. It has a lot of those really nice sentiments too that I used on all of these cards. So this one I just simply stamped that large wreath, and then I layered that smaller wreath on top and just did some simple coloring. I did another card, and this time I stamped it and embossed it in some more Gilded embossing powder. So it gives you a different look depending on what you're going for. I also added some of this little wood grain design, and this is the third stamp set that I'm working with today. This one is A Walk in the Woods, and it's this gorgeous wood grain background with all these really inspiring sentiments. So I kind of tried to mix and match these stamp sets, and I'll show you how I created one of my cards today. I wanted to give you a look at just the possibilities that you can use this background stamp with. So here I embossed this design on a piece of craft cardstock, embossed it in dark, and then did a little ink blending. You can always go with a lighter wood grain. Now you can't see the wood very well. I used a really light a light brown, and I also did some scoring lines, so it kind of looks like maybe wood paneling or some wood planks. You could do some kind of a farmhouse sign kind of card with that, and I think that would be really fun. I also embossed this design with some Gilded, some gold embossing powder, and I think it's just stunning to be embossed in the gold as well. So you can get so many different looks using this background, and it just depends on what kind of card you're building. I want to show you how I built this card here today. I kind of stamped a little bit of that design, and it's kind of fading out into the flowers. So I'm going to make another card in that same style, just using a different color palette. I'm using some dye inks today, and I'm trying to show you different ideas, different colors that you can use. So I'm using a green, and I'm just applying this ink on the bottom. Now you'll see when I pull off the paper from stamping that you want to be careful not to get some of those lines from your ink cube. So if you kind of go and sort of rub your ink cube on your stamp, maybe kind of rub it a little bit with your fingers and kind of just blur your ink that's on your stamp, you'll get a better blend into the paper. But I'm not even using my Misti. I'm just laying this card base down on top of the stamp and using a scratch paper to kind of press it on there and get a good impression. So you can see some of those harsh lines from my ink cube. Like I said, just kind of sort of rub those out, maybe with your hand, with a cloth, with the ink cube itself, to kind of help that blend, and you'll get a better fade on your background. I hope that makes sense. But I'm using this same cardstock to show you that you can also do really colorful backgrounds. You can kind of make a rainbow wood grain if you want to. I've blended some of the red or some of the greens and yellows and blues together, and I just want to show you what that looks. You can get some inks blending into each other, and you can get some really fun backgrounds. So now that I've given you a good look at this background stamp, let's go ahead and build a card. Now I want to build a card that's really similar to the ones I showed you at the beginning. So I've gone ahead and I stamped out some of this darker pink, so I'm going to use a pink wood grain. I still got some of those harsh lines, but they're going to be hidden a little bit by this large wreath that I'm using from the Everlasting Happiness stamp set. I am just arranging this on my card. Now you can see that this stamp, this image, is very large. It takes up more than a typical A2 size card front. So depending on where you want to stamp it, you can get a partial circle, or if you want to use the whole image, I think this would look really, really beautiful as like a scrapbook page, and you can put some photos inside that circle, inside that frame, and maybe fussy cut some of the other flowers out and arrange them around, and I think that would just look gorgeous. I'm doing a card here today, so I'm just showing you how it fits on top of a card front. So I'm just using some black ink, just stamping it onto my card front right over that wood grain. I'm going to stamp it twice to make sure I get a really good impression and a nice dark line. That's the great thing about using a Misti, is you can stamp several times if you need to get a really good impression. So I am going to be doing some alcohol ink marker coloring on this. In hindsight, I actually really love how the wood grain goes into the flowers. I may have just left it plain and not colored it if I were to do this again, but I just wanted to show you, excuse me, all of the options that you have with these beautiful stamps. So I'm just going to go ahead and color it with a little bit of my Stylefile markers. Now, my Stylefile markers are alcohol ink markers. They are a little bit cheaper than some of the other brands, and so they work for me. I think they're great. You can see there I started coloring and I noticed that black ink was smearing, so I took my heat gun, I heat set it to make sure that the rest of my coloring didn't smear and didn't start running, and that solved that problem. So I went ahead with my coloring, and I'm just coloring right over that ink that I stamped my wood grain background on. And I'm just doing a really light coloring. I'm just doing some color from the middle, sort of fading out into the petal. So the edges of the petal are actually going to be white. It's not going to be colored at all. The way I like to do my coloring is I like to put my lightest color down first, and then I like to come in with my darker colors. So I put my light blue down first, and now I'm just layering on a little bit of darker blue, and then I'll go ahead with my lighter blue and just blend that out a little bit more too. But you can see it's some really simple coloring that anyone can do, and it looks really nice if you want some lighter flowers. Now, like I mentioned, I really love these sentiments. You have that mix of fonts, and they're really sweet sentiments. The one I'm using here is Cherish Yesterday. So you can use these to kind of uplift a friend if you want to send them sort of a sympathy card, or just a I'm thinking about you kind of card. There's a few of them in the stamp set that would also work really great for weddings or any kind of celebration. So I think the stamp set has a lot of use, a lot of versatility. Use it on scrapbook pages, use it on cards, and all of the sentiments are beautiful. So I'm just going to go and layer this on top of a white card base. I just used my tape runner adhesive for this, but for my other cards I did use some foam adhesive, so you could pop up that front panel if you wanted a little bit more dimension. To add just a little bit to finish off this card, I'm grabbing some white Nuvo drops, and I'm just putting a little drop in the center of each flower. And I did this for my other cards that I used this image on as well. You do want to make sure to let your Nuvo drops dry for quite a while before you go and handle your card or send it through the mail. But that's how I built these cards, and I think all of these stamps are gorgeous. I think they work well together. Here's another look at all the cards I've done. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you'll hop over to the blog and go along with the blog hop today to celebrate these new stamps, and I have more links, more descriptions, more photos at my blog, so hop on it over there. Otherwise, thanks for watching. I hope you'll subscribe, hit like, comment, share, and do all the things, and I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks so much. Bye.